GLAM, Los Angeles.
Hi, Kirby. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to Los Angeles.
Okay, this has been a long time coming. We've been wanting to have you on the podcast, but
I'm containing myself. I can't, and I'm like,
but you're a busy woman.
I'm so excited
Vanessa
to be here.
Lee. Vanessa Lee, if you listening do not know who she is, you probably do. You probably follow her. But she is a celebrity medical aesthetic provider. You are a certified Eastern face reader, which we will get into. But like maybe most notably, you are the founder of The Things We Do. And I remember when you started The Things We Do, it was like unlike anything that was out there. And now there are so many who have copied you, which I feel like you should feel so flattered. But like,
I love it.
You really were like, you are a trendsetter. But you know, you have over 16 years of experience. You've been in this industry for so long. So we want to just dive into like your brain, your beautiful brain, what you're using on your clients and also yourself because you are gorgeous. And I feel like the last time we were with you, I was like, Vanessa, tell me what you're doing.
Oh my
I need to know and I need to do it.
And what a fun night, too.
Oh my God, that was really fun.
Yeah, the Metacube event.
So much fun.
So Surge on.
Thank you for coming on Los Angeles.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Right before we started, I was like, okay, icons, let's get started because, well, one, I want to say thank you for having me. But two, also, I've been following your journeys for so years and years and years. And I know that you guys are pioneers in the beauty editorial space and you guys stand by your journalism always. And I know when I see a Sarah Tan or Kirby Johnson post, reel, anything, I'm like, they've done the work, they've researched, and I'm paying attention. So thank you so much for having me.
Vanessa, that means so much. Thank you.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Okay, so let's get into what's on your face.
Okay.
I would love to know maybe two things that you are loving right now, but also are there products or treatments that you've been recommending over your 16 years in the aesthetic space that they're tried and trues and you keep going back to them for a reason?
Yes. Okay, so I'll start off with something that I've been using now for probably the past 15 years and I tell my patients about. It's a classic. It's not the sexiest thing, but I'm going to start off with saying a patient years and years and years ago came in and she was 92 and she was the most fabulous 92. She walked in with a scarf draped over her. She had red lipstick on, huge glasses. And I was like, teach me all the things, please. And she had beautiful skin, like thick, bouncy, smooth skin. Of course, like, you know, she had normal life wrinkles on her, but I was like, you teach me the ways. Like, what do I need to do so that I can be like you at 92? She was like, every other night, I slather myself in Vaseline. I put it all over my face. I put it all over my neck, my limbs, my feet. I have sweatpants that are just dedicated for my Vaseline nights that I just cover myself. I put socks on my hands and my arms. And it's just been, I was like, oh, you've preserved yourself.
Yes.
You've literally like alive mummified yourself. This is so amazing. And so I started using Vaseline. So I think it was What's on V's Face on TikTok who started, right? When she was like a few years back on TikTok, she was like, you guys would be in such a better state with your skin if you just weren't afraid of slugging. And that's when she really started talking about like, you know, this like slight occlusive on the skin. I think a lot of people on social media took it way too far for the virility, you know, factor. But I was like, wow, I learned about it first through her. So I have very sensitive skin. I have combination skin. I'm actually going through a rosacea flare-up right now from testing all the skincare from Korea that I got, by the way.
Oh, right.
That's what I get. So I have to put it on my cheeks. Because I have combination skin, I can't put it on my T-zone. So I have to put it on my cheeks once every 2 to 3 nights just to kind of like make sure that that skin tissue is nourished, that it's hydrated, but also I need an occlusive because I dry out so easily. And then, you know, there's transepidermal water loss when you're sleeping and you dry out so much more during the evening. So that happens to me a lot on the cheeks. So in preparation for today, I was like, last night, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to put on the Vaseline. So the Vaseline for sure, that's my non-sexy one. I usually don't wear makeup day to day, and I work in skin and medical aesthetics. So I constantly have I want to glow on my skin, but I don't necessarily want to cover my skin.
Yeah.
And I just discovered Kelly Zhang in the past year, who's a wonderful makeup artist, and she has a hair and makeup studio in Pasadena. And she has this concealer stick that's so easy to use, where if I have like a blemish or if I have like a brown spot, I just do a tiny bit on there. It's almost like the Hailey Bieber. You know how when you see her put on makeup, it's like almost
The most minimal amount.
Yes.
it's like a little here, a little bit there. I don't use it classically like how concealer I think is typically used. I just do it for like if there's a spot or two, and I just blot it out with my fingers like she taught me.
Yes.
So on my face today is a full Kelly Zhang face, but day to day, that's what I typically use.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And if ever you see me in glam, it's Kelly Zhang.
Oh,
She's
of course.
literally an angel, but like so talented, so humble, which it's like such a kind person. But her products, have you tried them yet?
No, I didn't even realize she had a brand. And then I saw
Yes.
her post that she
Has a new eye cream out.
Yeah, and the eye
Yes,
cream. And I was like, wait, I didn't realize she made products.
Yeah,
I
and then
didn't
her lip
either.
liners are incredible. The lip, and then
Yes.
like her tinted, her skin tint. It's all so good.
Yeah.
But the concealer, that's a really good one.
She's so talented.
Yeah.
What I really love about her and there's a couple other makeup artists that I've worked with who are good at this, but Kelly's really fantastic at, this is your face shape, so your blush placement should be lower.
Yes.
So she taught me a few things about my face where I thought I had it all figured out when it came to facial balancing,
Yes.
but I just don't wear makeup, so I don't know how to utilize different things on my face for the sake of balancing the shape within like color, in terms of color. And I thought that was really fascinating, and she just gets it. So I do love that product. As far as treatments with patients, what I've really been loving, especially because I'm now a rosacea girly, this just popped up, by the way, in the past several years. I think it has to do with the hormonal changes. I'm overproducing estrogen these days, and with that comes seborrheic keratosis, which is growing on my eyebrow now, which in dermatology we call age barnacles. Not fun.
Age barnacles.
Totally benign, totally fugly, and is like right here on the top of my eyebrow. I have to burn it off every other year, and then it grows back.
Really?
It's one of those things with aging. And the other thing is, the rosacea flare-up. So I've been using Skintox. So Botox and other neuromodulators, and this is proven in studies, peer-reviewed studies, where we can place Botox all over the skin, only into the skin, not going into the depths of fat or muscle. And because it works similarly with hyperhidrosis for calming down the sweat glands, it works the same way with your oil glands in the skin. So it calms that down, and then with less oil production, you have less irritants for that rosacea. What it's coming down to really is Demodex, these skin mites, like to eat all of that oil on your skin. And if you're overproducing, you have an overpopulation of those skin mites. So unfortunately, all of these little suckers are living rent-free on my skin. And the Skintox has really helped out. And so once I posted that, and we did a few stories on it, and we also had, I think it was an article that was done by Who, What, Where that did an article on their experience with us on how it helps with rosacea, but also it helps with minimizing breakouts. Patients started coming in and they were like, I didn't know. I'm never into the use of Botox into the muscles and changing my muscle movement and changing my face, but I'll use it for skin. So that's been a really big thing for us at the office.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
had
no idea. I had heard about using it. It's kind of like stamping it into the skin. Is that right? Kind
yes.
of like
you can stamp
microneedling?
it, and then when we inject it, it goes a little bit deeper so that the neuromodulator lasts longer.
Ah, got
Yeah.
it. Very cool. I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It is.
Another reason why we love you so much is because you're so honest, like with your followers and the community, and like we just learn so much from you. Probably like almost 2 years ago, you talked about getting a mommy makeover.
Yes.
And I was like, thank you for like talking about this, normalizing it, because I just feel like there's this stigma. And, you know, moms go through so much. Our bodies go through so much. You have 3 kids.
3.
3. And like you had your kids over
So many.
like how many years?
So my first one, we call him Kuya, and Tagalog
Yes.
it's big brother. So my oldest is turning 13 soon. And then I have my girl who's 9, Miss Penelope, dancing queen, Gemini. And Yeah, she's
Love
the
her
queen of the
already.
household, actually. And then we have Joaquin, who is 2.5. So it's, after the first one, I almost felt like I was sexier because I had curves for the first time. Naturally, my build is like straight up and down. And so I was like, oh my gosh, look at these breasts, look at these hips. This is amazing. Then after the second one, the recovery was not the same and my shape further started to shift. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm not really fitting into my clothes the way I used to, even though I'm back to my pre-baby weight after some time. And then after my third one, the elasticity in my body was just like, my skin was just like, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'd like to really enjoy myself and not have to. I found myself like always trying to cover up at the beach. And I'm at the beach all the time. One of my favorite things to do is metal detect with the kids. And so we're constantly at Sarah's face. She's like, like a little confusion.
I'm like, great. That's a fun hobby.
It's so fun. But you're out at the beach, you want to enjoy yourself. And I always found myself just like putting on like, just heavier, more covering clothing. And I was like, I just want to enjoy myself. I'm in my 30s. Not that matters, but like I have a lot of skin I want to be showing at this age and I want to have a hot girl summer.
Yeah.
And I decided I think it's time to start exploring what surgery might be like for me. So I ended up getting a mini tummy tuck, which by the way, I fully regret and should have listened to my surgeon. I should have done a full tummy tuck, which I'm going to get next year, by the way.
Okay, great.
What's the difference between a mini and a full?
Yeah, so a mini, the incision is smaller. And some plastic surgeons will say that the incision doesn't have to be smaller. It can be the same size as a full tummy tuck, but they don't go in and pull in your abdominal muscles together. And I just felt like, you know what, I just have some loose skin. And I chose a surgeon because of how nice and how nurturing he was and how caring he was. And he was like, if you don't want to do it, we don't have to do it. And now looking back, I was like, I should have just listened to him and I should have done the full tummy tuck because now that I've lost even more weight afterwards, that extra tightening of those muscles would have helped me out so much with the shape. So that's the only reason why I feel like I want to do another one because it was a pleasant experience. It was a hard experience. When I say pleasant, as far as like post-care, and I felt very prepared with what I was going to go through. My surgeon was like, here's the emotions that you're going to experience afterwards. You're going to highly regret it because you're going to be in pain. You're going to be swollen. You're not going to be able to see your shape right away because of all the swelling. And then when that goes down, you're going to be highly critical of yourself. Then you're going to go into, should I have done this? And then once the healing is done, you're going to be like, oh, I've arrived. And so because I had that preparation, I was like, oh, I am experiencing all these things and it's fantastic. So I had that mini tummy tuck. I had 360 lipo all the way around. So my flanks, my stomach, and then also my back. And then I also had some of that fat transferred to my hips. I wasn't like I don't need a big butt or anything like that, but I loved that slight curvature in the dress that I had from post-baby 1 that really like shifted after post-baby 2. And then I lost weight afterwards from my Mounjaro journey and all of that went to shit. So that's totally fine. Loved it while I had it. Didn't know Mounjaro or Ozempic existed at the time. And then it really kind of like blew up shortly after.
And that affected everything.
100%. So my hips are no longer, they're back to where they were, I guess, or would have been pre-surgery wise. But I have to say, I'm very happy with my shape. I feel so confident when I'm out in a dress. I feel great in a bathing suit. I would feel better if I had a second tummy tuck next year, and I'm going to do that. My husband's like, are you done? I'm like, just one more and then I'm done. And then maybe one, and then I'm just kidding. So I'll be
in
done.
40 years, another one, and then
I'm that girl that likes to maintain, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Totally.
I also did my breasts shortly after that with a different surgeon.
When you say, did your breasts implants or a lift?
I did a lift. I was open to implants. So from that first experience, I was like, you know what? When patients come to see me, I don't let them talk me into what they think is the best thing for them. I listen to what their concerns are. I listen to what their favorite features are. And then I come up with my best and safest plan for them. And if they want to deviate from that, grossly, like severely, then it's just, I may not be the right provider for you, and that's okay. And I make that call. My first plastic surgeon, I think he allowed me to deviate too much, I think. And that's not anything negative about him. That's just what happened. And the second time around, I was like, if somebody says, you need implants to get the shape that you want. If my plastic surgeon says that, then I'm just going to accept that. And that's a part of my journey because aesthetically, I'm going for a very specific look. So I've always had larger breasts. I've always been double D. And now I'm a D with lifted, my nipples are where they need to be. Okay.
They're looking forward.
Yes,
we were just talking about this.
We were almost touching the floor. It was really insane. I actually showed Shawnee Darden, is a good friend of mine, and I know that you guys are friends with her too.
Of course you did.
I showed her my before because she was like, "Oh my God, your breasts are like Austin Power,
Femba.
like the femba. Boop, 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 boop. Like what? Show me a before." I showed her before, and she goes, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "Stop!" And she was like, "You never told me it was that bad." And I was like, "It just was.
Also,
it
you
was
had
just
3 kids.
three
and you already
kids,
had big boobs.
breastfed
and with
every
double
single one
Ds,
of them."
right.
And I was just like, you know what? I'm okay with still being larger, but I just would like the shape to be, if I don't want to wear like a bra, I'm still doing all right, you know? And I didn't want to go huge. I didn't want to go bigger. And so I saw Dr. Elise Min for that. And I had the best experience with her. So she was like, you have dense breasts. We don't have to place an implant, but we may have to, because you're fuller, place an internal mesh, like an internal hammock with a mesh of sutures. And we may place some fat transfer at the upper pole of the breast because of how full you want to be up top. And then when I woke up, she was like, guess what? We didn't have to do that internal mesh. We didn't have to do the fat transfer. Your breasts were dense enough that when I did the suturing and closing and lifting, it's going to be the shape that you want. And I have to say, I show off my breasts every single time. We're a naked household also. Like I'm naked all the time. And I probably shouldn't be that way now that I have kids who are like, entering junior high. But like, it's just, I feel great. And the shape is great. And I recommend it to everyone. Like if you are just feeling like you, after kids, have lost a bit of yourselves, not just emotionally, but like, man, I feel really uncomfortable in my own skin. Why not take care of it? Just get a consultation and see how you feel. And if in your gut you're like, this feels good, I like this, then move forward. And if not, that's fine. You've at least had the combo.
I love that Dr. Min was able to make a game time decision on what to do versus being like, I'm looking at this. I think actually we should just do an implant. And then you stuck to the implant and then you agreed to do the implant pricing. There's so many things that I think people don't think about when it comes to factoring in their surgeries.
Yes.
And what certain doctors may be pushing you to do based on the price or maybe taking less time for them. They can see more patients. So I really love that she was like, guess what? We actually didn't have to do that. We observed the situation and it made sense not to.
And she went over that with me prior to surgery. So she was like, here are all the different ways it can go. And I hope that it's going to be this, and I'm planning for this to be what it is, but it might not be. So you're not going to wake up with like some surprise.
Right.
And we've all heard that story before from one of our girlfriends or someone we've worked with where you wake up and you have these huge boobs that you didn't ask for. So I appreciated all the transparency before, and I felt like I was truly a part of the plan the whole time.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So you started as a nurse injector.
Yes.
Then you opened The Things We Do. You're an educator. You work with a lot of brands in terms of like teaching other people how to properly inject. And now you're a content creator, which I think we've all become a content creator in this world. It's bonkers. All of us are making content. Yep. But what initially drew you to the world of aesthetics? You're so passionate about skin. You could have become an esthetician. You could have thought about dermatology at some point. But what drew you to aesthetics specifically?
So when I was 10, I believe, I had a sleepover where I grew up in the 90s. So Mom wasn't really around during the sleepover. She's in the house and we were generally safe, but like she didn't know or care for that matter what we were up to. So I took a bunch of her like glamour magazines and cosmopolitan magazines. We grew up with magazines, right?
Yes,
like it's like anytime you're at the grocery store, boop, 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 you're like pulling all your favorites. So she loved magazines, and she had, Cosmopolitan and also Glamour magazine. If you guys remember back in the day, there were like these super, super sexy headlines. 10 ways to orgasm. And like 5 ways to make your man say yes, like all of that. And then there would be a section where it's like DIY masks for anti-wrinkling at home. And there was a beauty, there's a whole beauty section. And I was reading the magazines and I almost felt like, you know, the character from Pen 15, that show.
Yes.
Is it Anna? No, it's Maya, where she's like mischievous and devious. So I'm reading these magazines and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know you could do that to another human being with those like cheeky. And then it was like the beauty section. And I was like, oh, that's really cool and fascinating. So I took all of my friends and I was like, listen, we're going to go to the kitchen. We're going to make this beauty mask. And it's oatmeal, it's egg whites, it's a little bit of avocado. I remember it so clearly, and mixing it in like one of my mom's old like Tupperwares, which in Filipino households, the Tupperware is not an actual Tupperware. It's like an old margarine butter, you know, and
It's an old yogurt.
Yes, it's an old
cup. Yeah.
It's some kind of food that is no longer in there, and that's now our Tupperware. So I remember mixing everything up, and we're all putting this on our faces. And one friend goes, "What are we doing this for again?" And I was like, "For wrinkles, so that we don't get wrinkles." We're 10, you guys,
right?
And so I just
Sephora kids.
love that experience so much, and I was making my friends feel good. It was fun for us to bond over that. And I became the girl in junior high and high school that would get everyone ready before dances. I would just do fun things like that and connect with women basically by making them feel more beautiful. And so because I'm Filipino, this is going to be like a constant theme all throughout, I can already tell. My mom forced me into nursing, and she was like, you need to do this because you're my only child, and I came all the way from the Philippines, and I cannot have you go to art school, because I wanted to be in the arts. Yeah. I wanted to do journalism. I wanted to write. And she was like, no. I did not, her exact words, I did not come all the way here so you can be arting. And
Arting.
Yes, you need to go to nursing school. And I was like, oh my God. And then I had found that there was this is back in 2008 when I graduated nursing school. I had found that there was this less invasive medical side of, you know, plastics where you could do injections to help kind of like minimize wrinkles, fine lines. You could help shape the face a little bit. Once I found out about that, I was like, game over, I'm going straight there. My mom also was like, no, you're not. And I was like, hold on, I paid for my own schooling. Why do you get to have this control? But you know, only child, the parents. And I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. So I worked in neurosurgery and in the ER at UCLA for 2 years while I was in medical aesthetics. And after a couple of years, I was like, I just want to do this full time. I'm so good at this. And Vanessa, you're a grown woman. Why are you letting your mom dictate your destiny? And so I went for it, and I just fell in love with it. And I loved being able to follow my patients' journey out throughout like years and years. Some of my patients I've been treating for 14 years now.
Wow.
And I've seen their wins and, you know, losses in life and all of that. And in the ER, you see the patients for a blip of time and you never know what happens to them afterwards. They're off to the next floor and it's like, oh, I hope he made it. Or like, I hope that kiddo was okay. And then in neurosurgery, you're with a neurosurgeon playing the music that he wants to listen to and whatever he wants to talk about for 8 hours, and you're not connecting with patients. And I was like, really, this is not my thing. So I have just enjoyed my time in medical aesthetics. I worked in plastic surgery, med spa, dermatology, and I just love this field so much. And at 10 years, that's when I created the things we do.
Amazing.
Okay, so obviously you know aesthetics inside and out. The industry has changed so much since you started.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that you're really excited about? Some like trends that are up and coming that you like cannot stop talking about?
I'm really excited that we're going back to the natural face finally. I mean, it took so long, you guys, of so much of this craziness. And we live in Los Angeles, so we've seen the craziest of it, you know what I mean? And I think for the longest time, it was in our industry, I just think plastic surgeons, derms, aesthetic injector nurses, you kind of lose what real normalcy is, because everyone you speak to and everyone you're around and all your patients are all about aesthetics. And then you go to conferences and everyone looks a certain way and you just feel like, oh, this is normal. And then you go out in the real world, like say you step out in a normal town in San Diego somewhere and you're like, oh shit. I look a little crazy, you know? Yeah. And it's like, you're not okay going to CVS. And so it's a whole thing. So in the beginning of my career, I just thought this was just part of that world maybe, because I had started off in Newport Beach and it was really intense there in 2009, 2010. I was like, wow, this is a look. And I was constantly trying to educate my patients to do less. Like, I don't think we need more lip filler. And my bosses were always upset with me because it was like, no, it's legal. It's fine. They're safe. we can do this. And it's like, well, maybe just because we can do it, it doesn't mean we should do it. Yeah. And like, there's a better way to approach this. So I started realizing over time, people they're looking to fill something. And usually it's an emotional fill. There's a hurt somewhere. And so getting to know patients and also with nurses, we're always, advocating for our patients. And why do you feel this way? And how did you come to this conclusion that you need that? Asking all of those questions and spending much more time with patients. I've built my career off of let's just preserve you as much as possible, or let's get you back to that favorite Facebook photo you have of yourself that you've kept up for the past 6 to 8 years. Or if there's that favorite feature that you have that you're starting to see fade over time. I get a lot of patients who say, I used to really love my eyes. They were my favorite feature. And my husband passed away, or I went through, my doctorate program, or after having 2 kids, my eyes just don't have that same luster anymore. And I don't know what's happening, but something has changed. Can you help me with that? Or I've heard patients say, I used to love my smile so much, and now it always looks like I'm either angry or sad, and I don't feel that way on the inside. And that's what we really focus on. And I think aesthetics is finally returning to that, the natural face, where maybe we're not focusing on augmentation so much anymore, where we really were in the beginning. And now it's more so, how do we just maintain the best parts of ourselves for as long as possible? How do we just work on age delay? We're okay with change, but let's just slow it down a little bit.
And keeping that element of yourself.
Yes.
People not coming in with a photo saying, I want Angelina Jolie's lips.
To look like this totally different person. Correct. It's no longer that.
Or change the entire shape of my nose with filler in some aspect. Got it. I love that. We've talked about this on the podcast, but there's certain advertisers that promote on billboards on 3rd Street where I drive by and I look at them and I think to myself, this looks so dated. I know this is a new billboard, but the models that they're using are Kardashian clones. And I'm not saying that derogatory, because I even think that the Kardashians have evolved their look since 2016.
They don't even really look like what's on the billboard
They
anymore.
look like a version of when Kim was still with Kanye. And it's very interesting to me to see how people really latch on to that aesthetic. I think that we all go to events still where I'm like, oh, wow, they really have this photo of Kim from 2017.
It's surprising to me.
And they
it's
want
surprising
to look
to me
like
when
that
I see
still.
people at these, influencer events, and I'm like, whoa, that's weird. You never innovated your look, or you never
evolved.
Yes, you never evolved. It's kind of like we're stuck in that 2015, 2016 phase. And I feel like those are people who are not paying attention to themselves very much. When you have a good handle on who you are and what your face shape is and what you love about yourself, when you really pay attention to those things, you look like a genuine version of yourself who enjoys being in your own skin. And when you're so focused on what everyone else is doing and what you need injected to look like somebody else, that's what happens, is you keep plumping and doing all of these weirdo things that get you looking to a point where you're finally upset. And then you're like, I want to dissolve everything. And it's like, let's just think of the slippery slope that got us here.
Yeah.
Right.
So on that note, do you have a lot of patients coming in asking to be dissolved, asking for their fillers to be dissolved?
I feel like I built my practice on that when I first started, was constantly telling my patients, no, we shouldn't do any of those things. We're actually going to focus on skin, thickening the skin, strengthening the scaffolding of skin so that we can fight against gravity more. We can use less neurotoxin because now your skin has strengthened and it will battle against those dynamic movements because it's healthier now. And let's maybe stop putting as much stuff in here and adding. Let's just try to rejuvenate our tissues. And for the person who comes in and they do need facial balancing when it comes to fillers, because somebody has a really soft recessed chin and they're desiring a little bit more balance in their lower face, we do it very artistically and with a lot of natural intention guidance. And that a lot of our industry doesn't love that because it causes so much more time to be taken up in the treatment rooms. And our practices in the US are based off of volume and let's see as many patients as possible. When I was working at a previous office, I was pressured to see 15 to 20 patients a day. And you just can't one, it's not safe because you're rushing, and with some of these injectables, you can cause very serious complications. And two, you're not listening to your patient. You're saying, I think you need this based off of this weird photo that you brought brought in, so I'm just going to give you this. So we take a lot more time. Now I see maybe 6 to 8 patients in a day. And that's what I want for all of our providers as well. So I was in downtown LA office actually this morning, and I was looking at the schedule and I was like, ooh, 10 patients. Just make sure you're paying attention, you're having the conversations, you're not rushing. And I just want to make sure that we're restoring maybe the heart back into aesthetic medicine. And the reason why I hesitate with that is because it sounds a little cheesy, honestly, but it's just about connecting with people more and asking the right questions. And we have better outcomes with it in medicine in general when we practice that way.
I keep thinking about what you said in regards to a previous practice where it was 20 to 25 patients a day. That's essentially 3 patients an hour, right?
Yes.
At 20-minute intervals.
Yes.
So do you think that it would be useful for people when they are going to seek an aesthetic provider, see how long their appointment lasts
Yes.
as an indicator of whether this is a
smart.
person that they should be seeing?
Yes.
Because I personally want somebody to spend more time with me, and I want to be able to ask my questions
Yes.
versus feeling rushed to get something done.
And not feeling like you're burdening that person because you're looking for help and actually spending your hard-earned money there, right? So yes, I think that's a great question when you're calling in. First, I think when you call in for a possible appointment, how do they treat you on the phone? Do you feel like you're bothering that person? Are they giving you the time of day? And can you so when we do our training for patient coordinators, I say, I want them to hear you smiling through the phone. Please don't rush. Please make sure that you're making a connection with them that's deeper, because what an honor it is for someone to just trust us off of a post that they saw. And it's medicine. It's the softer side of medicine, but it's still medicine. I was actually, I did a post on hiring. We're hiring a new injector. And I was, going through some interviews, and this gal was like, yeah, I see 30 to 40 patients a day. And I was like, ugh, that's so scary. Oh my gosh. And so in my mind, I was like, well, you're probably causing complications all the time. That's not what I said. What I asked was, how comfortable are you managing a complication like a vascular occlusion? And she was like, of course. As soon as she was like, well, I have to deal with those all the time, so I feel very confident. And I was like, yeah, of course, because you're blazing through these faces, shoving filler in. There's a higher incidence of complications. And I was like, I just want people to see 8 patients a day max. And she was like, oh, that's not going to work for me. And I was like, it's not going to work for me either. It's okay.
Wow.
I
And I'm
know.
sure she thought too, by coming to you and saying 30 to 40 patients
was
a day,
impressive.
that's
Yes.
not only impressive, but something that is sexy to you as
Yes.
the person who owns this business. Oh, I can get through a lot of people to help make you more money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Fascinating.
that's our industry's fault, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
she's only been in this industry at the time for about 6-7 years. So the people who created that were the people who owned the practice, who were also medical providers. So that's on us.
Okay, you have a very thoughtful approach when you're looking at somebody's face. You blend Eastern and Western philosophies, which I think is not only so fascinating, but really it is thoughtful. It's a very thoughtful approach. What are some core differences between Eastern and Western? And how do you incorporate both of them? How do you marry them within the things we do in your practice?
Great question. So we call ourselves an East meets West practice. And a lot of people have asked me before from articles like editors, what exactly is Eastern about your practice? Is it because of your heritage? And I love explaining this because I think we don't do a good job explaining it on our website. We tell the story a lot on our socials, but when I go to the Philippines, so I like to go every couple of years, when I go back home, if I tell my family members, I'm going to be right back, I'm going to go get a facial, they know I'm going to be gone for hours because you go to a medical spa, you go to a dermatology office, and you will have a facial. You may also have vaginal steaming. You may also have a full massage. You might also be in a room filled with women where we're all using each other as therapists, basically, and we're just talking about the hardships in life. You're there for hours and hours, and there's acupuncturists. There's a lot of different components of what makes someone beautiful and comfortable in their own skin. Then you come home 4 hours later. It's very akin to, in Asia, I think you've seen all of these viral Korean posts of how they do so many things at once. But I'm used to a more holistic approach where there's a relaxation component, there's a de-stressing component, there's getting to what's going on with your gut component also. So within the things we do, we have Dr. Bryant, who is on staff with us, who's a naturopathic doctor, and he does a lot of gut health and how it connects to skin health. He does a lot of that research. He does a lot of that deeper, digging with patients of maybe if you have this, and he's helped me so much with my rosacea and just like oil content, all of that. If you have eczema, if you have rosacea, there are deeper questions we need to be asking other than here's a topical. That topical didn't work. Here's another topical. Like, let's do some questions. Let's get through a history first. And his whole thing is when you first meet him, you have 90 minutes with him and he's going through some deep detective work and he's doing these tests for you. So we have our naturopathic doctor. We also work with Dr. Daphne Lim, who is a licensed acupuncturist, and she's been our acupuncturist that we've been working with since we've opened. So if you have these deeper stressors, what else can you do? If you need cosmetic acupuncture, if you're going through hair loss, you're utilizing all of us. If you come in and in the initial consultation, we are getting a hint that you have body dysmorphia, then we like to refer you to the 2 licensed therapists that we've been working with since the inception of the company, because maybe there's that hole that we were talking about that you're trying to fill with filler or something else instead, and maybe you need some more emotional support before we get to the point of doing some injections. And anytime I've suggested that to a patient also, they've never been upset or angry. A lot of times if somebody has body dysmorphia, they're like, I do know that I have a tendency to be unkind to myself and it has caused a lot of emotional distress, and I do appreciate that. And quite a few of our patients after that have come back after they're cleared, and some of them are like, you know what? I'm just going to get facials with you guys, or I'm just going to get the skincare. I'm good on those things, which I love all of that. So it's a more holistic approach. It really is. And we just ask more questions. It's not that we have the snail mucin. It's not that I'm Asian. It's that we like a more complete way of treating beauty and confidence.
It's not the superficial aspect of bringing Eastern in.
Correct.
Love
I love that.
That I didn't know all of that.
So I just don't do a good job.
I know.
I am so impressed.
I'm like, I
like,
need to go.
Why is this? Yeah, why is this not standard for
really-
every practice?
I know.
Honestly, truly, the therapy component of that, I think,
important.
so important.
Yes.
Probably has helped a lot of people versus
It has.
Trying to nurse themselves with
Yes.
filler
Yes.
or Botox to
Yes.
like a little treat. Instead, it's like, oh no, actually, what's actually making me think that I need this if I don't?
Right.
Yes.
From like the young patients that come in who, like you said, have this body dysmorphia or even like face dysmorphia specifically. And then like the older patients who have trouble explaining exactly what it is they're feeling, wanting to look
Yes.
like their younger selves. Like, that's just like so incredible that you offer that.
And that's why the first year after opening, our reputation spread like crazy because it was a very explosive first year for us. I think the numbers that we did it was unheard of our first year opening, especially in such a saturated market. And it was because we were just doing the best for our patients and we were just asking more questions and listening more. And could I have made triple, quadruple the amount of money by just like rushing everything but saying we had these things? Absolutely. But I always talk about the legacy in medicine that you're going to leave as a provider because we all take oaths. And it's like at the end of the day, and a lot of our providers have children, at the end of the day, like, what are we going to tell our daughters and sons that we did in this industry? Like, are we going to look back and be like, that was time well served? Or are we going to look back and be like, I made a lot of money, So
Right.
Yeah.
it's just different.
Okay. So let's talk about you are a Eastern face reader.
Yes.
What does that mean and how do you incorporate that with your patients?
Yes. So face reading is a tradition and a facet of Chinese medicine that has existed for centuries. And it's utilized in our practice so that we can not only look at the thirds of the face and what stands out the most, because that's also from Eastern medicine. We're not only looking at the symmetry of the face. So the right side of the face represents your maternal side and your connection to your mother, and also the mask that you wear for the world. And the left side of the face is supposed to be representative of your more paternal side and who you truly are when you're around people that you love and by yourself. So we don't only look at those more aesthetic components, but we also take into account if there is a softening in an area where there should be strength, for example, in the philtrum area, the philtrum column. If there is softening and flattening in that zone, and if the color is more pale instead of rosy or healthy, that is an alert to a face reader that there may be an imbalance in the reproductive system or in your creative portion in your life. So I take into account those things, and I take into account how this person in front of me may have a set of behaviors or beliefs and why they're asking for certain things and how can I serve them best. So in face reading, there is a physical component where we're looking at different physiological changes that are all connected to organs within our bodies. There's also a life path form of it where you're looking at someone and you say, you know what, you have deep patterns of crow's feet that come straight across. That shows me that you experience and express a lot of joy in your life. If somebody has all the worry lines in the face, so deep forehead lines, deep 11s, deep marionette lines, and not a lot of joy around the eyes, you're asking yourself as a face reader, how can I help this person maybe see things in a different light where I can take off some of the stress for her? Or how can maybe this person is in a zone of concentration right now in her life, and how can I help her feel like she looks more relaxed because she wants to reflect that? So I have a patient who's an attorney, and she's like, I want things to be just like softened. I don't want you to like freeze anything. I want things to be softened in my face, but I need to keep my deep 11s because I need to show in court that I'm upset and I'm concerned. And I'm like, we can do that. And I love that. So it tells us about the patient. It tells us about who they are. It tells us about their purpose in life and what they're headed towards. And it also tells us physiologically what might be going on.
Very cool. Okay, now read mine and Sarah's faces. Just kidding.
This is so fun.
Do you have an hour?
Yeah, no.
2 hours?
So
We're both wearing makeup, so maybe we just like come find you and we're like,
I'd
figure
love
it
to.
out.
I'd love to do a
Tell
reading for
me.
you guys.
Yes, that would be
Okay.
so much fun. All right. Something that I've been really excited to talk to you about is you recently went to Korea.
Yes.
Okay. And we know Korea is to be like a global innovator and leader in terms of aesthetics.
It's heaven.
Like aesthetic tourism's huge there.
Huge.
And
We have so many questions.
what they pay for, when we had Fariha Ali on the podcast, she is a nail artist. When she went to Korea, she was like, Kirby, guess how much I paid for Botox or something. It was absurd. I
What
was
did
like,
she say?
I think she said in total she paid like $100 or something.
Yes,
It
it's
was
wild.
bonkers. Okay. So we're like, we gotta go. We gotta go. But what treatments did you do there? And what techniques are you wanting to bring back here for your practice?
Yes. Okay, great. I have so much to say about Korea. They're truly in the future, and also they are the hub for efficiency.
Yeah.
Efficacy is the number one thing out there. Quality, everything is aesthetic, everything is cute. Generally, the people care about niceties and being polite and not being on your phone in public and respecting, the peace of others, which I felt like I was in heaven. I was like, oh my gosh. I called my husband because I was over there for a mini fellowship. I was shadowing 2 plastic surgeons and we had some hands-on too. But I called my husband and I was like, everyone is so polite here. Like, this is amazing. And me talking to you right now, this is extremely rude. So I'm going to go, but I love you so much, but I love it here. And he was like, wow, you found such a nice place of respite out there along with your classes. So I absolutely love it. I have so much tea. I don't even know where to start. Okay, so
What
I
are
guess
they
we'll talk
doing
about
out there that we're not yet?
they're doing so many things that we don't think of just yet. And they're also not doing things that we think they're doing. So just to break it down, when I was out there I got 2 treatments. Well, I got many treatments, but I got treatments at 2 different clinics. Both of the doctors were like, they weren't suggesting for me to get the salmon sperm DNA injections,
yeah.
which everyone is obsessed with, right? And here in the US, I think the mirage is that we think everyone is doing it out there. And so I was like, how come you haven't suggested that for me? And they were like, we could do it for you. And I was like, oh, why don't you seem excited about it? And they were like, honestly, you Westerners are really obsessed with it right now because you just found out about it.
Yeah,
And
it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's like they've been doing
everywhere.
it for so long.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people go there from the West, they ask for that treatment and then they get it done. And it's totally fine. And some people do see a really big difference, some people don't. Yeah. But I was like, why don't you guys do it very often? Because the doctor was like, we don't really do that too much. Like us Koreans, us locals, we don't really do that often. And I was like, why? And he was like, you just have to do so many treatments, and the trade-off and the downtime that you're going through isn't really there for us. And I was like, what is the process and how often do people have to get this to maintain the results? And he said, you have to get it once a month for 3 months. And the downtime is like 7 to 10 days for a lot of these people because it's like tons of injection sites. It's highly uncomfortable.
Bumps, yeah.
You have those little bumps for several days. And then after the first 3 treatments, they suggest 3 additional treatments that are 1 to 3 months apart. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a lot. And I'm only here for like, a couple weeks. So like, let's just, whatever is the biggest bang for my buck. So they asked me, what is your goal aesthetically while you're here? And I was like, that's interesting because the other doctor led with, we're going to have you do a deep skin analysis. I'm going to talk to you about your shape. I'm going to talk to you about your skin, and I'm going to tell you what you need to do. And then she ended up not doing the treatments for me. So it was all of these like micro little facials, microcurrent, a little bit of plasma on the face to heal my rosacea, a little bit of very, very, very light microneedling. Like I think it was almost like a 0.2 millimeter, very light because the doctor wasn't doing the treatment. And I was like, I loved her consultation. And then the treatment I felt like I didn't really see a difference with. They microneedled stem cells. And when I had an English translator, and when I was asking, what stem cell derivative is this? Is this from human? Is it from animal? Is it plant? And there was a back and forth for a while. And then they said both. And I was like, all three? Or was it plant and animal? And they had a hard time telling me. And I was like, oh, people just come to this clinic and like blindly trust and just go for it. Where in the US, we're like, I need to know everything. I need to know all the possibles of like what could happen, all the adverse events, all the complications, my downtime, all of that. And then the same people in the US will go to Korea and be like, stem cells. And
it's like, whatever, just do it.
Yeah. So, but I did do it for the plot. And I was like, let's see what happens. And it was fine. It was all just fine. And then I went to this other clinic and they were like, tell me your goals. And then they were like, okay, then we'll do these things. So it was almost like I was driving that consultation quite a bit. But what my aesthetic goal was to be tighter and lifted and more compact with my tissues without injectables. I didn't want to do fillers. And they were like, great, so you need to do Picosure toning for your hyperpigmentation. I was like, wait, what? I didn't even say that and they were like, you have a lot of brown spots, so you need to do Picosure for your full face and for your neck. And then you also need to do titanium lifting, which is actually from Alma. And what I found out, have you guys had laser hair removal with Alma lasers by any chance?
I've had laser hair removal. I'm not sure if it's an Alma laser.
So there's quite a few Alma lasers out there. There's Pixel. Yeah, they have an IPL as well. They do have a laser hair removal, but they have this machine called the titanium tightening and lifting machine. And it is a laser that goes into the deeper tissue. So there's no ablative treatment. You're not breaking the skin. And it's 3 different laser wavelengths in one that are meant to like shrink, tighten, and lift. So they only do it in this portion of the face. They also offered Onda and Ultherapy. And I was like, they were like, this is a step up. Like if you really want a smaller face, this is much stronger, and we suggest these things. I've already had buccal fat removal with Dr. Sharmila Sunder, the best, by the way.
Love her.
Love her. So
beautiful woman.
she actually was like, we're not removing, Vanessa, we're just reducing because you are going to need some of that fullness. And I'm so glad that she gave me that guidance. So I was like, I can't take out more fullness in the face. I just need the ingredients that I do have to be like tightened up.
Snatched.
Yeah. And so I had that treatment done and immediately I saw a difference. But as you know, even if you're at Face Gym just doing some massage, you see a difference. So I was like, let's see how long this lasts. And now it's been just over a month and I still feel tightened, lifted, toned. And also I have less brown spots because of the Picosure.
Yeah.
So that was great too. They also did Onda on the back of my arms, which is fat dissolving. And it is also skin tightening, which is a machine that's from Italy. I've already done research on all of these things because I'm like, can I buy this in the US? Like, I want all of these things. The fat dissolving is so strong that you can only do like 1 to 2 treatments per year. That's it.
Wow.
1 to 2 treatments per year per portion because you can really dissolve too much. And if there's not enough fat tissue there, now you're wearing into some muscle, possibly, and that's why I think it's going to take so long for the FDA to approve it for us.
Because a lot of things could go wrong with the wrong provider.
Yes.
Is it like an M-Sculpt works or is it like
No,
different?
it's like they put this gel on you. So I did it behind my arms. They put this gel on you and you're slowly heating that tissue up with something that feels like nothing is happening for the longest time. It's a 15 to 20 minute treatment and you're like, what am I spending my money on even? Is this happening? And then towards the end, it gets really warm and then it's done by the time it's almost unbearable. And I was like, I don't know, whatever, I'm in Korea, I'll try it. The next day, I was like, is this in my head? Weeks later, I was like, my arms are shrinking. This is crazy. So, I would fly out there again to do it again. Listen.
Wow. And then do you have to go get another treatment of that
I don't
next
have
year?
to.
You don't?
I mean, I'm happy with where I am.
Yeah, I mean,
feel
they
like
look great.
Thank you. But I also feel like I've always had anti-arms, like I have just
What does that mean?
your aunties when you're
Oh,
younger, they have
yes,
like such like soft like arms and like they're just like almost too soft as a kid. And you're like, oh my God, you're suffocating me. You're suffocating me with your soft arms.
Yes.
So I've always had just very soft arms. Plus I don't work out and I totally could. But I was just like, let's see, if I'm going to use that, like tightener and fat dissolver somewhere, I'd like it to be behind my arms. Plus, because of the plastic surgery, right? Like I had everything like, just kind of snatched up. And I was like, that's what needs to match. And after one treatment, I was like, wow, this is truly, truly fantastic. And so I was like, if I do want to do this again, when can I do it and how often? You can do one more within a year. That's it. And I was like, you don't need to tell me.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow.
I love that.
The efficacy,
Yeah,
right?
because even with like M-Sculpt, you have to do it like
I know.
so often and it's so expensive.
I know.
It's like $800 a session.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, wait. This is probably not new, but I saw it on my Instagram probably because I've been like wanting to get a bleph and I was like looking at, all these different things. So anyways, this woman got not a bleph in Korea, but she got threads.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
She
and
got
it's
threads instead.
fantastic.
And it's like less downtime. The bruising was like a couple days and that was it. And then it's like removable. So if you don't like how it looks, like you can, undo it. Her eyes looked incredible. And I was just like, sign me up. Like,
See?
Can you do this in the States?
They're in the future. I know of a provider who is in South Orange County who does this, and she's Japanese from Japan, and she is Japanese and Korean trained. What they're doing is, if you think about how threads are placed into the skin, if it's placed too superficially, the lifting threads, they dimple the skin inwards. So it's almost an on-purpose dimpling and adhesion of the tissues and pulling inward. So it's almost like Kelly Zhang will use these little stickers, right, for the eyelids. Like I personally have a left eyelid that's a little bit heavier and lower. And she was like, for the sake of symmetry, do you want to do this? And I was like, oh my God, I forgot we could do this. So it's like that, but it lasts longer.
Yes.
So there are the threads that you can take out, and there are the threads that stay within the tissues. And then as it dissolves, your own tissue is building in its place. And then you have that for a couple of years, but it's not going to be comparable to like a surgical cutting bleph.
Okay.
There's this video going viral. By the way, send me that video.
Okay.
There's a video going viral of a woman saying that she thinks that blephs are out and that people will be wanting to return to hooded lids. I fully disagree with this take, to be completely honest, because blephs are actually one of the only treatments available that have very minimal downtime.
Yeah.
You don't have to go completely under for them. They call them the lunchtime procedure for a reason. And it's one of the easiest ways to make you look more youthful. And as we know in this industry and in the state of 2025, people still want to look youthful.
Yeah.
Point blank, period.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with her take. Sorry. I don't know if she's an aesthetic provider. We've heard so much about blephs in the internet sphere that now people are like, well, we've heard too much about this, so the other shoe has to drop.
You're right.
Totally.
But I'm like, I don't think that's real life.
Yeah.
I think people are still going to want to get a bleph.
Yes.
It's still on the rise in terms of what plastic surgeons, when they do their research studies, it's still one of the top surgeries that people are doing.
Yes,
Yeah.
and for good reason, because when somebody has loss of volume in the hood of the lid and also a combination of loss of elasticity, it's not a younger or more aesthetic look. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to become in fashion when your actual eyelid space is being sacrificed because this tissue is now weighing you down. But I do think that the appreciation of like hooded lids is definitely something that's becoming hotter and hotter, which is great because, that's us, right, girlies? And we're like, love to be appreciated. I just think when social media talks in these like absolutes and then so many people follow suit and it's like, wait. Let's just look at case by case what's happening here. And we've seen the numbers. Blephs are only going up. And it really is just something that we need to pay attention to ourselves more and what's going on for this person that I'm living in my skin. I have to look in the mirror and see if this is something for me or not. And just kind of go based on customization of your personal experience.
Totally. Wow. I wish we had another hour to chat with you.
Me
But
too.
this was so much fun. Vanessa, where can everybody find you? Where can they make an appointment to see you or one of your providers?
Yeah, you can find us on socials on @thethingswedo.co on IG and also TikTok. And my page is Vanessa Lee _RN. And we have 4 locations all throughout Los Angeles and also Chino Hills, which is my hometown. Shout out 909 forever. And we also have 1 location in Oahu as well.
Wow, amazing. And
Taking over, Vanessa.
your podcast?
Yeah. Oh, yes, my podcast. We're coming out with season 4 this summer. So prepare yourselves because we're doing something a little different this season.
Woo! Awesome. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Oh, this is amazing.